Current topics. Oh my God, I was muted the whole time. See, this is what happens when we try things. All right, guys, welcome back into the Deep Threats. Sorry for that live audience. It got a little noisy in here. I know all you guys are, you understand what it's like here sometimes. But this one's for you guys. It's all the predictions and stuff in the NFL and what's going on in the league. And I mean, it's kind of like what we talk about. It's just typically just football all the time. And then
hot topics.
Yeah, I mean, on our docket for today is going to be OTAs, NFC power rankings for the North and South, and then some current hot topics, like you said. As always, I'm your host here at KJAM, and then you have my wonderful buddy on my right chair, Wheels.
Thank you.
How you doing today, big guy?
The co-host for the show today and the last couple Wednesdays. Thank you for stopping by. Go and like the Facebook page. We did set up a Discord. We are there for you. Again, this show is built for you to make it better for you, so we would love your input on this. Any input is good input, as KJ would say. Thank you for coming today, and we have a lot to talk about. Rosters, power rankings, news, hot topics, fantasy and dynasty talk. So back to you, my friend.
All right. And as always, we are 100 days away from the NFL opening. That one's for everybody out there who's been anxious as all hell to watch the NFL, and I don't know how anxious I am just because of the simple fact that, like, I've been loving talking football. But here's my issue is that because it's on YouTube now, I just don't know what that entails. Like, I have 4 TVs in my basement, and I just am not ready for streaming.
Or is it that you're not really anxious because we're Browns fans? And we know how every year kind of is. Oh, it's our year.
No, I mean, I think every year is a Super Bowl year. It's called Any Given Sunday for a reason.
Yes, sir.
Some of the worst teams have made it very far. Look at, look at the Giants and what Eli Manning did with, great defense, but the offense wasn't the best out there. So, I mean, you can go 8-8 and win a Super Bowl.
It's highly plausible.
Against the greatest of all time.
Not now. You can't go
against the greatest of all time.
Who's that?
Tom Brady. Eli beat Tom Brady.
He's retired. He's old.
Yeah, but it was
He's not coming back.
It was Eli's
to the
8-8 season. No, it was Eli's 8-8 season, and he beat Tom Brady.
He's not coming back to the Raiders.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm excited for the season. It's going to be a whole new aspect and a new way of watching football through streaming on YouTube. And I just don't, I don't know if YouTube, and granted it's Google, it's the biggest company in the world. I just don't know if their servers are ready for something that was going through like cable network boxes, which were built strictly just for
this. There's many servers, essentially. I mean, there's a lot to entail this offseason. There's a lot to unload this offseason with the rookies, coaching changes, and injuries. You got guys coming back like Breece Hall, Brock Purdy.
How do you take me from YouTube to off-season topics?
I don't know. I got ADHD.
That was the hardest segue in the world.
You say that every time. That's why you keep me around.
I mean, this dude's here just to make sure that my whiplash seatbelt's always on. So what he was saying, though, is going into OTAs, we got some guys, got some news, right? So we got some news about some guys that are looking pretty good right now. We have, Brock Purdy is back throwing. They're saying it's looking pretty good for his progression, where he's at. What does this mean? I have no idea.
So do we think he's going to start the first season?
I think it's too soon to tell. I think it's too soon to tell.
I mean, it's hard because you're so far away. So
right.
You got either Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, or Sam Darnold. So pick your poison at the end of the day. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, they're going to hype up Brock Purdy, and he's coming back. He's throwing. That's the best thing for him to do after that injury. I mean, it was an abysmal end of their season, but like you said, any given Sunday.
Yeah. You got Sam Howell, who the Manders are hyping up like crazy right now, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, based on he only had one game. I'm not going to knock the kid. He reminds me a lot of Baker and his play style. Baker took a team to the playoffs. So
yes, he did. And he put that team on his back that year, in my opinion.
I don't know about that. It was a very good team. He had Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Nick Chubb.
But he's still throwing the ball.
Hunt was,
Who's throwing the ball?
I think Kareem Hunt was there that year.
He was. Who's throwing the ball?
It was Baker, but Baker didn't throw it as much as you think he did.
No,
they might have thrown the ball 400 times. So, but I mean, I don't want to knock Sam Howell.
No,
I don't think he's a starter in the NFL personally. I think he's a backup at best case scenario. But
Washington, you got
who knows?
Who do you got in Washington? You got Sam Howell and Jacoby. So I mean,
Jacoby Brisket.
Jacoby. I mean, look what he did with the Browns last year. He didn't play bad.
Yeah, but they got to see what they have in Sam Howell. They drafted him.
But I mean,
they didn't draft him until like the 4th round, but they still drafted him.
And then
what?
Terry's been talking him.
Yeah, that was what I saw was the Terry hype on Sam Howell. He's led this charge for the locker room. I don't care how good your personality is. If you suck at football, you still suck at football.
Yeah, I mean, I suck at football, but I have a good personality.
Yeah, but you didn't get drafted by the NFL, so. And we're gonna beg to differ on that personality conversation there. But also for fantasy owners out there, the number 1 pick in the draft last year for Dynasty, Breece Hall is on track to start Week 1. They're saying he's looking really good, and his out of season exercises have progressed very well. So that's a good thing for people out there. And then I had to bring this up just because it's what's been going on all over Twitter.
It's swirling a lot.
Is the Browns continue to hype the offense with mediocre receivers. And I'm not knocking Marquise Goodwin. I like Marquise Goodwin. But they're just constantly just touting this dude as the best number 2 in the NFL right now.
So my biggest thing with Marquise Goodwin is he's played for so many years and he's had one good year really, and he hasn't proven anything otherwise. So I mean,
and then we're not paying him much. So
there's a reason these guys jump from roster to roster to roster. It's just you can hype these guys up, but come game day, do they have what it takes to make an impact?
I think Goodwin does. I just don't think 2 guys can all be all you have. And Elijah Moore at OTAs,
Cedric.
And also, God, somebody please help me with the Anthony Schwartz shit.
Oh, he's gonna be cut.
They're saying Anthony Schwartz is rising the potential of all the defensive backs, but has he risen the potential of himself?
He
can't catch the ball. So
it's one thing you can create separation, but can you catch the ball? Can you take a hit? The guy plays as almost he's scared to take a hit, which you can't have that in the NFL. It is a physical league. It's a physical league. I mean, he was a track star at Auburn. I mean, good. I mean, you can catch the ball and run, but running in track and running in college versus...
According to Marquise Goodwin, it's good to be... what did he say? He said it was good to be a high jumper or a hurdler because it makes for great route running. Which, I mean, you cut. I get it.
You jump up for a ball and you land on your back and break it.
I get it. You plant and cut. Oh, is that a Mike Williams joke?
Possibly.
Too soon.
Possibly. So that brings us to our next segue with the D-Hop news.
Not there yet. Not there yet.
All right,
I got one other thing for you.
So bad.
And it's a prediction from Good Morning Football. I don't remember who said it, but Kenny Pickett will be the first quarterback in his class to win a Super Bowl. That's the joke.
I mean,
in my mind, that's the joke. It's very easy to say that.
You had Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, and
Desmond
Ritter. So,
and only 2 of those guys are starting. Well, now 3 if Howell starts.
That's like saying Andrew Wheeler will not win a Super Bowl in the NFL.
Yeah, it's very easy to predict if a guy in his class is going to win, it's going to be the guy that's actually starting.
Yeah.
So I thought it was funny because I know that was getting some that was getting some rounds around Twitter.
And who tweeted that?
I can't remember who said it.
Football maybe with their obnoxiousness?
Did they? Oh yeah.
I don't know.
No, ML is just the pot stirrers. That's all they are. I mean, the fact that you got kicked out of the draft is kind of hilarious. So now we can segue
finally
into the off-season floaters out there. Let's talk before we get into D-Hop, because I'm sure D-Hop's going to be a little longer of a conversation.
Yeah, for sure, it's going to be.
Let's talk a little bit about Dalvin Cook and the possibility of the Vikings releasing him. This has been going around for the past couple hours, actually.
So
it's not even really been around that long. So
There was some news on it a couple weeks ago, and I do news because, I mean, there's always going to be media reports to stir, like we say. But does it make sense for them to cut him? Who do they have behind him?
Alexander Madison.
Okay, and then...
I think they drafted a guy, too.
Which Alexander Madison, when Cook has gone down, has played very well, but has he played to the talent of Cook? I don't believe so. In my opinion, he did not. So you're already paying Cook. If you cut him, I'm not sure how that contract works out, but with the movement of Aaron Rodgers now to the Jets, why wouldn't you keep Cook just to say, let's throw it at the wall, see how it goes one more time? It's not going to hurt.
They drafted McBride.
Trey McBride?
Dwayne McBride.
Dwayne McBride. Is that UAB?
Yeah.
Which, okay.
And then they had that kid, Kene Nwangwu.
I don't know.
And then they got Ty Chandler there, too.
So a lot of guys.
I mean, they definitely have a lot of guys there.
But like I said, so I mean, with the movement of Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he does losing Cook and keeping Cook. I mean, how much does that help or hurt your offense? I would rather play with Cook. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he would love to stay in Minnesota. I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't really.
I agree with you.
Dove into what happened with it and why this is swirling now. I don't know if it's either his camp releasing it, Minnesota's camp releasing it.
Well, no, this was swirling earlier. It's just a matter of it's coming up to that date. Me and you were talking about
Tuesday.
where Tuesday is the day. It was June 4th or something like that, or June.
I thought it was June 1st.
No, June 1st is tomorrow.
Okay.
I want to say the date is June 4th. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I think it's 4th. June 4th, I think, is a day where the new league year starts, technically, for contracts. So when you release a guy, you can actually split the differential up over 2 years that you still owe them. So they owe him, I think, $6 million or something like that guaranteed. It's a dead cap, $8 million. And they owe him a $10 million base salary. If they cut him, it's some odd 6/1 is the date you were talking about.
Yep. For his,
so their dead cap, they would take a dead cap hit of $5 million this year and then $3 million next year. So they're allowed to spread that dead cap over 2 years.
I mean, why wouldn't you keep him? Does it really make sense to cut him now?
They saved $9 million.
I understand that, but you're so close. I mean, you are.
I think he's too young. I think he's too young to cut. He's only 28 years old. I think he's too young to cut.
I know everybody says this and yada, 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 but if he wants to win a ring and you got Pacheco there and you didn't pick up the 5th year on Clyde, he can always, go and fit with the Chiefs. They've always did that with, a couple older wide receivers.
If they do a trade, that's that $3 million split.
So if you give them Clyde and maybe a 5th for Cook,
I would. You don't see that happen much in the NFL.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Straight up player swaps.
But what I'm saying is, they cut him. He's going to go to a contender.
But you know what I'm saying? I don't ever see they don't ever trade receiver for receiver.
No.
They trade needed position for needed position. So I just don't see a player swap happening.
No, but I mean,
and I can't think of a time recently where player swaps happen in the NFL.
He would fit really well in Denver with the.
The conversation is Miami.
They got Devin Shane now,
but they have the free cap space.
Yeah, so I mean,
they have injury-prone running backs behind Shane. So
yeah, and Shane's really small. He's only I think 183 pounds.
He's small, 5'9".
I believe he was the lightest running back coming into this draft this year.
He's tiny. So I mean, I think if you're Minnesota, you got to keep him.
Yeah, I think
you do a restructure, do some signing bonus, push the money off.
And how old is he? 27, 28?
He's 28 this year.
Okay, so I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You have him signed till literally his prime year, which is 30.
Yeah.
So usually after 30, running backs start to go way downhill.
Yeah, they
so I say, honest to God, with $12 million all you're paying him, and when he's 30. I say keep him.
There's
find a way to keep him.
You save some money if you cut him, but like we said, they're contenders. You're playoff contenders this year. I mean, you need that wide open.
Didn't you make the argument that no Super Bowl winning teams have had a paid running back though?
Yes. But this could be the first year that amount slowly ticks up year after year that red line.
Yeah, but I'm talking. But it's a percentage of the.
Yeah.
It's the percentage. But I'm just saying, like,
usually a quarterback either on a rookie deal or a team-friendly deal. But I'm not sure what.
But I think running backs are usually like young too at that time.
But I'm
They're
not sure what Pat made last year, with how that worked.
He was still on his rookie deal, but his big money doesn't kick in until this year.
And his big money was probably a signing bonus.
Yeah, it's probably spread out to this year. His big money doesn't kick in until this year. So
I've been watching the NFL for 15 years, so at least, and I still don't understand the way they do some of these contracts. It's as if the money doesn't exist. It's just we'll just push it to next year.
It's fluid.
It's a very weird way they structure these contracts.
Well, signing bonuses can be spread out over the entire career of the player. So technically, even you can take a signing bonus and spread it out even when they're not signed. Yeah, it just hurts your cap.
They did that with Mahomes, and I believe the way that Watson's contract was structured, it's a little bit like that as well.
Yeah, so Mahomes only made $35 million last year. This year he makes $39 million.
Okay, but
then
I'm trying to remember.
Next year is 46. So he doesn't hit his big year till 2027, which is $62 million. Which, depending on where he's at, he'll probably change a little bit. But so all in all, I think that me and you probably came to the conclusion that keep Dalvin.
Yeah, I would definitely keep Dalvin because I think the guys behind him don't give you enough of an advantage over cutting him.
Right. I mean, I like Madison, but I agree with you that they're a good tandem.
There's
not so much like one like 1A, 1B. I don't think it's that. I think it's like literally you have Dalvin and then your change of pace guy is Alexander Madison.
And I mean, it's not like a one step. In my opinion, that's a few steps down. It's not like you just one or two steps. I think it's a couple more than that. I mean, you're definitely taking a drop at running back.
It's hard to say because Madison really hasn't had his shot. And when he shows up, he shows up.
Madison hasn't had his shot because maybe he hasn't been able to beat out Cook.
Well, that's obviously he hasn't been able to beat out Cook.
But that's the thing. Just like we had with the Chris Evans conversation with Cincinnati.
Yeah, but no.
He hasn't been able to beat out
Chris Evans. Chris Evans has had his opportunity as a backup to start and hasn't been able to start. Dalvin Cook, when he was injured, Alexander Madison came in and they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, but consistency is key. Can you do that 5, 6, 7 games?
I don't know. That's the argument. That's the argument with whatchamacallit in Dallas. Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard, yeah.
Can he be that guy all year without? I mean, granted, he fills in very well as a continuous back when Zeke's out, but can he do that consistency? Those 300 touches.
Well, we'll see this year. We're gonna see.
We shall see.
Time will tell.
So okay, let's get into this one because this one is the one that probably agitates me more than anything, and this is the DeAndre Hopkins one, right? So DeAndre Hopkins landing spots, from what we're seeing right now in the NFL, there are the Patriots, and to be honest, this for me was the most likely at the start of the year. There is the Cleveland Browns, and this one has the most connections. You have obviously the
Baltimore Ravens?
No. Well, no, the Browns have the connection between Watson and
Hopkins.
Yeah, Watson and Hopkins, and then the Browns just freed up the largest amount of cap space to get him. On top of that, there was one other thing. Completely forgot it. On top of that, the Browns have paid $233 million in essentially signing bonuses this year, which is the most in the NFL.
Yeah, they're right below.
They're above everybody, I think.
I think another team's very close.
Dallas is 210, not even close.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, it's $23 million difference. That's how much the Haslams have paid for this team this year.
At least our football team spends money.
Yeah, our baseball team does not spend money. That's a different argument in general. But so cap space, willing to pay, and the connection between the quarterback and the receiver. So I think there's a connection there. The Ravens essentially are out. Everybody thinks that the Ravens missed their train when they signed Odell. Yep, they don't have the cap space.
The Bills are, I don't want to say gaining.
I don't think the Bills kind of came out and said they like their receiving core along with the Eagles.
Yeah, the Jets were in the news, but Salah came out and said we like the wide receivers we have this season. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have been spoiled, but let's be honest, when you break it down, look at salary, the Chiefs can't afford him.
The Chiefs can restructure and find a way to afford him, and the Chiefs need him.
Yeah,
there's a big difference there. The Chiefs need him. But the Chiefs I don't even think are in it.
No.
I think like I said, I think it's the Patriots. I think it's the Browns. I think it's the Ravens. They're still in it in my mind, just because I feel like with the pushes they've been making this year, that they'll find a way to get him if they want him. The Ravens, the Miami Dolphins, which is, I know that sounds weird, and then the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, but let's talk about the Dolphins real quick. You're 1, Tyreek. You're 2. You got Waddle. Your 3 is technically Chosen Anderson right now. So, I mean, D-Hop is a 3 on that team isn't bad at all.
Robbie Anderson.
Chosen Anderson?
That's Houston.
No. Chosen is on Miami, buddy.
Is he?
Yes, sir.
I don't have those rosters up. I don't remember that.
He signed with the Dolphins on some weird deal.
Are you sure that's Robbie Anderson's not in Houston?
Yeah. Hold on.
I think you're wrong. Because they're hyping C.J. Stroud throwing the ball to Anderson right now. Right?
Nope.
I'm pretty sure. Anyways.
Watch me be wrong.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong. Like, I don't think he's in Miami, but I could be wrong. But you just pull shit out of your ass all the time on purpose, though.
Nope, he is with the Dolphins. He signed a 1-year... That's a goofy...
Prove it deal.
1 year, 1.3 mil.
Okay.
152,000.
Yeah, I mean, so they need a guy.
bonus.
They need a guy.
But that's the thing. You have D-Hop as your 3rd. You're set for that year.
Yeah, for sure.
You
Well,
are
I think any
comfortable.
team that gets D-Hop, I think the game plan is you're in it to win it this year.
Yeah, I mean, but
I think that's the game plan.
So let's go over the teams that we talked about and whether he's a 1-2. Obviously, we
well,
talked
he's a
about
1
the
on every
Dolphins,
team. Like, even
not
with
the
Tyree,
Browns.
he's a 1 on the Browns.
I think Amari Cooper's a 1, sorry.
I think Amari Cooper then becomes the 2.
I don't think Amari Cooper likes that.
I don't think Amari Cooper
Cooper's a
likes it,
1.
but Amari Cooper performs either way.
But D-Hop's going to play the slot, right?
I don't know Stefanski how he runs offenses. So
Well, we know that.
that's a lot to say.
Where would you put him on any type of roster? Slot, outside?
I'd put him. I don't think he's a slot. I think he'd probably be my X.
Okay. I can agree with that. I do like him as your X.
Yeah, he'd probably be my X receiver. It sucks. I think Amari would be my slot, and then I think DPJ or Goodwin would be my Y.
Amari is a great route runner by far.
Yeah, I would rather have Amari as my slot because he got sure hands.
Yep.
Like him and Michael Thomas.
And
like
then,
I like those guys as big slots.
And then on the other side, you have DPJ, Elijah Moore. Do you have Cedric Tillman?
Oh no, you have Marquise Goodwin and DPJ. It sounds crazy because DPJ's in a contract year.
You traded for Elijah.
I get it,
crazy.
but Goodwin's showing up at OTAs right now, and Goodwin has been a proven 2. He's been a proven 2 though.
For 1 year.
Elijah Moore. So this is my argument, right? Okay, let me get off this because this is why I said this is going to be a conversation, because I have an issue with personally a team going after a 31-year-old guy. And you went out and just got all these young guys in the NFL. Like, you just got Elijah Moore, like 24 years old. You just got,
Cedric
DPJ
Tillman.
is coming off a contract here. He's 25. You got Cedric Tillman, who's 22 years old. Now,
Anthony
granted,
Schwartz.
Cedric Tillman was a 6th-round draft pick. Really not talking about much there, right? Like, we can kind of watch
no,
that.
he was
Or
a
fourth round.
He was a 4th.
So, but we're not going to really, like, he's not Elijah Moore, 2nd round, right?
Yeah.
And you paid him $1 million. You signed him for like a $1 million over 3 years. Like, you're not really paying Tillman.
No.
So, but you did sign him.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
it's a guy that, in my opinion, I'm just, talking here, but I think, they liked him. They were up on their board. He was there. Let's try it. Why not?
Yeah, no, right. So that's why it's kind of like a shooting at the stars pick. Like, so, like, to me, Tillman's not even in the conversation. Elijah Moore's in the conversation. DPJ's in the conversation because he's in a contract.
He's an improvement year. Maybe you can trade him for some assets if the year doesn't go as good. I know you talked about that.
Yeah, like you can't just let DPJ just walk away like Rashard Higgins did.
Yeah.
Essentially. And Rashard Higgins was never, like, they got a lot out of Rashard Higgins.
Yeah, they got a lot. He was a 6th-round pick. They got a boatload out of him between the Rashard Higgins, Baker, connection there. He played his best football with the Cleveland Browns.
I have an issue with, and they're not going to trade their future unless they do trade because D-Hop is not released until Tuesday.
Yeah, they have not. Yeah, we did talk about that off the show. He is not officially released. The Browns could still trade for him.
Tuesday at 4 p.m., which is when they'll probably release him.
So there's a quite a bit of time that, a lot of stuff can happen between today and next Tuesday.
Yeah,
And we
I
have a
agree.
show next Wednesday, so tune in.
Yeah, and we might know exactly where he'll be at on
Yes.
Wednesday, so that would be saying a lot, actually.
And there was false reports of him buying a house in Strongsville.
Yeah, I bit all over those.
But
I guess that was like false. I guess they just keep recycling that news story from what I was hearing. That like, oh, look, this player's traded. Oh, this player. Oh, this, and it's always in Strongsville.
But I believe he did.
Which Brecksville's where the training facility is.
I believe he did
or not
sign with a
Brecksville.
new agent that is Cleveland based.
Oh, well, wasn't his agent not his, and like it was like a fake agent?
Yeah. But he signed an actual. It wasn't. I don't think it's officially. But what I read this morning on Twitter was he signed with a agent that was from Cleveland.
All right.
And you already got Deshaun Watson here. They cleared cap space. So I mean, the signs are there.
All the signs.
So what percentage do you think he's on? He's a Brown. I would say 64.
I was 65. I was gonna say 65%. That's hilarious.
I hate doing 50-50. I hate.
It's not a 50-50.
No,
it's not. I think it's more likely than not.
Yeah.
And all the signs are pointing towards more likely than not. And I'm not a fan of it personally. I like DeAndre Hopkins as a player. I think going after a 31-year-old receiver and paying him $18 million is going to be a risky decision because you put your team in a very bad situation next year.
So,
now, if you can find a way to structure a 3-year deal with DeAndre Hopkins like you did with Amari Cooper, I'm all for it.
So where do you think wide receivers hit their peak and start going downhill?
31 was my number, but based on the research I was doing before the show, the greats have 2 or 3 years after 31.
Do you consider D-Hop a great?
I think D-Hop is a great.
Okay, yeah.
Statistically, I think D-Hop's a great.
And when you look at his stats,
he's better than Amari Cooper, right?
Well, yes.
And I love Amari Cooper.
But so when you look at his stats over the last 2 years with Arizona, obviously he missed a year with PEDs. And then the year before that, I believe, was the injury to Kyler Murray for 3 games. I know I'm not for certain on that.
No, it was the end of this past year. So he missed 8 games this year.
But I'm talking about the year before that, Kyler was hurt as well.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So, I mean,
at the end of I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, so he's missed probably 10 games over 2 years.
Yeah.
But to be honest, if you go look at those receivers, they have a pitfall somewhere in that era between 28 and 32.
Yeah,
there's a couple bad years.
Right in the middle of 30. I mean, that's your...
But let's be honest, like if he's going to go play with a guy he's played with before and Deshaun Watson, like that chemistry has still got to be there. I'm sure. And actually, that was the other connection is Deshaun Watson hasn't stopped talking to him since he left.
No. And
so they're still friends.
I mean, I know this is kind of a stretch here, but going to another 2 players that played together was, Devontae Adams and Derek Carr in college, Fresno State, and they still had a great connection when he was at the Raiders.
Yeah, until everybody got injured and they had to force the ball.
I mean, the like you said, the connection will always be there. I mean, you play so many games. I mean, you bleed for the guy on the other side. I mean, it's a brotherhood essentially, is what football is. So I
completely agree. It's
the connection's not lost. It's just, do the Browns want to do it? And honestly, as much as I'm not a huge fan of D-Hop coming to the Browns, I think they'd be stupid not to. Why wouldn't you want to give Deshaun Watson the best available for him?
Right. So that's the argument, right? Like if you're in it to win it this year, which they are,
they have to.
They just paid Zadarius Smith. They paid everybody on this team this year.
Yep.
This team is probably going to be over cap, and there's no fines for over cap. It's just you're over cap. That is also funny.
I'm waiting for them to do a luxury tax like the NBA.
Speaking of luxury taxes, let's talk about Belichick cheating again.
Oh, do you mean the stealing Kenny Pickett's SUV with the playbook inside?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Belichick.
Oh, he really cheated again?
Yeah, so Belichick, they got docked both their OTA days because his special teams coach had the players in over hours for coaching sessions.
Really?
Yeah. So the
NFL is so weird.
What they do is they restrict certain hours in the off season so no one gets a 1-up on getting everybody on the playbook.
So it's a fair fair
It's
playing field.
That's the goal, is to keep it a fair
Well,
playing
it's
field.
Belichick. Do you really think he's going to fall?
Well, so Belichick's like, we got away with it this far, so. And then he's like, he took full responsibility. So they literally lost 2 of their OTA days because of doing that. So I think that's funny in itself. Belichick, you're not trying if you're not cheating.
Yep.
And that's Belichick's number 1 rule. I guarantee you, if you go into Belichick's office, right above his desk, it says, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
If you don't think your team has cheated at least once, you're lying to yourself. Everybody cheats in sports.
I don't cheat. That's cheating.
Everybody cheats in sports.
I don't like cheating. All right, so you know what? That's enough for the OTAs. Enough for news for today. We're gonna jump into the NFC North. We're gonna talk about these rankings.
So
you guys already have my rankings for the last episode. It was like an episode like 6 episodes ago. So let me put up my NFC North rankings for you guys, so you guys can get those rankings for me. I got the Vikings at 1, Lions at 2, Bears at 3, Green Bay at 4. Anybody who knows my arguments, you can go back and watch that episode. Like I said, it was 3 episodes ago, so go enjoy that. I'm going to let Wheels make his arguments and tell me what he's got here.
So I'm going to go 4-1. You got the Packers at 4. You lose Aaron Rodgers. I mean, all-time great MVP quarterback, leader of your locker room, leader of your offense. He's gone. You turn to Jordan Love, who, you haven't heard much about. The only people that are kind of hyping him up are the Packers and the front office and the coaches, which you're going to do. You want to install that confidence with that kid. Why not? But from what I see, I think he's going to be good. But with the way that team is structured with his weapons, they are the 4th best team in the NFC North for me because of that. You lose a lot of value with Rodgers. You didn't really gain any wide receivers. You drafted guys late like they always do. I mean, you got Romeo Doubs. I get it. You got Christian Watson. I get it. But can they prove it? Can they be a number 1 and number 2 consistently with Jordan Love, with a completely different quarterback thrown to him? And I don't think they can. So for that reason, they are 4th for me. Now we move to the Lions, which might surprise you. The Lions 3. You might not understand it. You might not get it, but guess what? Suspensions matter. Do they not, KJ? Do suspensions matter?
I actually thought the suspensions was a big factor, and I had a hard time ranking them anywhere different. But what I did say when I ranked them, suspensions matter. But they still have Marvin Harrison.
Yes.
Or Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones
Jr. And then they also have... you have Amon-Ra, but Marvin Jones got signed there this year.
Yes.
And then they also signed somebody else in the offseason, which I feel could supplement the production of what Jameson Williams was going to do.
But, so with this, again, suspensions matter to me a lot more than maybe you realize. But... I have them 3, and it's close. It's a very close 2-3, 1A, 1B type of thing with me. Jared Goff, I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. Call me crazy.
Back-to-back years?
Yes, sir. And not just fantasy. I think he'll be top 10 in the NFL this year. What? Even with Jameson Williams being suspended for 6 games for saying, oh, I didn't know I couldn't bet at the Lions training facility. What? They tell you that like day 1. Exactly. Are you mental, Jameson Williams? Are you mental? You're hurting your team. Now we move to the Chicago Bears, which made a stunning
Why do
trade.
you get paid that much money? Do you feel you need the gamble?
I don't know. Have somebody else do it for you. Get a bookie.
That's just crazy. And
now we move to the Chicago Bears, who had a great offseason, traded the draft pick, acquired a ton of talent.
Arguably the best offseason.
Yeah, I would say the best offseason next to Houston. You gain DJ Moore. You gain, who do they draft in the first round? I can't freaking remember.
I love that you can't remember this.
I'm sorry. There's been a lot. We've been going over a lot.
Paris Camp? Was it Paris? No, that was Houston.
No, not no.
They drafted a left tackle, didn't they? Now I feel you got me.
I'm sorry. Amateur hour.
You got me questioning myself, dude. Oh, dude, I thought these were in alphabetical order.
Technical difficulties. Hold on.
I had the draft up here.
I know, I did too, but it closed out. So they drafted Darnell Wright in the first round, 10th overall pick. Second round, you got Gravon Dexter, who we are a big fan of. I believe Steve likes him a lot.
Gervon Dexter?
Okay, Gervon. I can't read. I'm dyslexic. My bad.
I just know his name because I did all those
Stevenson,
graphics.
Cornerback out of Miami. Zach Pickens, D-tackle out of South Carolina, and Roshan Johnson, running back out of Texas, which I think is
Don't forget about Noah Sewell.
Tyler Scott, wide receiver out of Cincy, and Noah Sewell in the 5th round out of Oregon. So Noah Sewell, we were a huge fan of out of Oregon at linebacker. I think that's going to help, and I believe they signed Terrell Edmonds from the Bills, which is another great linebacker who I love. So the guy that you're going to want to watch this year is going to be Roshan Johnson. He is the backup from Texas.
Tremaine Edmonds.
And I say it's Tremaine. His brother is the other one. And then obviously Darnell Wright played at Tennessee. But so with this offseason that they had, I think Chicago will be the second best team. I have them. What do you think? 10, 11 wins?
Nah.
You don't think so?
I think it's so hard in this division to get 10 wins, to be honest. And I got to go back and look at their schedule, but
that's the hardest thing with doing power
I'll give them 9.
Okay, so
I have a hard time giving them 10 because it's so hard to go from 3 or 2. I don't know what they had. I think they were 2 and 15 or 3 and 14. They had the first overall pick.
2 and 15.
Yeah, I think it was 2 and 15. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's a way to go from 2 to 10 for them. You got better, but again, when you change coaching, when you change your offensive line, you change your schemes, there's a learning curve, and it's going to take a minute.
Detroit did it. They were very close. 10 wins last year, I believe. I believe they did
9.
10 wins. The 9, okay, so very close to 10. So you're right there on that cusp. So
I said 9.
I'm going to give them 10 wins, and then obviously number 1 is the Vikings. I love the guys that are returning. We talked about Dalvin Cook staying there. You get J-Jet. I mean, obviously he returns. You lose Adam Thielen, but you drafted
Who are you talking about?
the wide receiver they drafted to the Vikings.
Jordan Addison,
thank you, out of USC. I think he'll be a great number 2 because KJ Osborne has not been able to prove it and has not been able to step up to fill that number 2 spot, who will be a number 3. You got Kirk Cousins, who's been Vietnamese a top 10 quarterback, who is hugely underrated for I don't know why, not a great
turnovers in clutch situations.
Okay. I get it, but he's proven himself. I mean, he can run that offense. I mean, about as best as any quarterback I think can run that offense. What say you? I have them at 13.
Well,
13,
yeah, I mean, I have them the exact same as last year.
Okay.
I don't think they took a step back at all. Now, I will say defensively they might take a step back, but I think coaching-wise, because of the coach they brought in, he was capable of doing something with mediocre players, and I think he can do that again in Minnesota. Whatchamacallit, that came from Miami. Can I remember his damn name? The defensive coordinator. He went to the Steelers, and then Minnesota picked him up. The guy that's never going to get a head coaching job because he's suing the NFL. Why do I not remember this dude's name? Somebody save me, please.
Sorry. We talk about so much out of here. Brian Flores.
Yes, Brian Flores. So I'm going to ask you this question, right? And I'm just going to run this down as quick as I can, just because of the simple fact of what we have here. You said the Bears 10, right? You said 10 wins for the Bears.
9 10 wins. I'll agree with you there. It's close.
No, I'm gonna run this down. So you got.
I haven't looked at the schedule.
Well, I'm gonna do it really. I'm gonna do it really quick. I'm just gonna do it really quick.
Okay.
So you got week 1 against Green Bay. We'd probably say Chicago wins that, right?
Yep.
2 against Tampa Bay. I say Chicago wins that.
Yep.
3 against Kansas City.
Loss.
I think that's a loss. You got 4 against Denver. I think that's a loss. Washington Commanders.
Win. I think they win by a field goal.
All right. So I'll give you that win.
That's 4.
So that's 4. Vikings.
Where? You in Minnesota? Or
it doesn't matter. Do you think they split or no?
Yeah, I think they split.
Okay, so we'll give them the first one. All right, let's say they take the first one.
Raiders.
Raiders.
Win.
Okay, so you got them 5. Chargers. I got them loss there. Saints.
Loss.
Panthers.
Win.
So that's 6.
That's 7 because they split with the Vikings.
Well, I'm not there.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So 6 right now. Lions.
Loss.
Vikings.
Win.
So that's... I gave them the first one, actually.
Okay, so we're at 6.
So we're at 6. 7. Yeah, I gave them the first win. Bye week.
Win.
So Detroit Lions.
Win.
Okay,
I
so
think they
7.
split.
The Browns.
Are they at home or are they at home or are they in Chicago or are they in Cleveland? That matters to me.
Cleveland Stadium. So
what's the date?
It's in Cleveland.
What's the date?
And it's to be determined.
Okay, we'll say loss.
So yeah, so 7, and then Cardinals win 8.
Yep.
Atlanta.
Win.
That's 9. Final game of the year against Green Bay.
Win.
So you got them at 10 exactly. All right. I mean, it's fine.
It's exactly what you said, and I'll give you
It's
that.
hard. It's hard.
I didn't look at schedule when I do power
No,
rankings.
I know you did. I know you didn't.
roster.
I thought it'd be funny because
no.
they have a very easy start of the year. They have the worst schedule in the NFL.
Yeah, and I like the way you brought that in. I mean, it obviously. I mean, they're right there, so it only strengthens what you're saying.
I'm not opposed to this ranking. I just don't see a team going from worst to first in this division. I see a team going from first to worst, but they're second to worst. Actually, yeah, Green Bay. Well, technically, Green Bay tied Detroit, didn't they?
Yeah.
And just because of the situation,
Yeah,
Green Bay they were both knocked out.
Chicago and the Lions are a win apart, in my opinion. If Jamison Williams doesn't get suspended, they are number 2.
Yeah,
they might be number 1. I mean, it's just, again, it's hard, but I can't, with the way that those rosters are built, not looking at their schedules, I got to put the Vikings first because there's just more talent on that roster, in my opinion.
I agree.
You got a head coach that, he's been there a minute. He understands. Like Dan Campbell's still a little new. This is his 3rd season coming in.
Second.
First
year was his last year.
Sorry, second season coming in. You got Jared Goff, who's, I don't want to say peaks and valleys, but, mountains.
Dude, his defense,
he's got mountains.
Dan Campbell's defense looks so good.
Yeah, they
which
do.
I think that's the difference between Minnesota and Detroit.
Yeah.
Minnesota is just an untouchable offense. I don't think there's another offense in the NFL that is as high flying as an offense as they are.
Against Indy. They came back out of nowhere against Indy.
What is a 32-point comeback or something like that?
Biggest comeback in NFL history.
Yeah,
so,
poor Matt Ryan, bro.
Yeah, so obviously we got number 4.
He goes to the Hall of Fame just for that.
4, we got the Packers. 3.
Yeah, and the only reason I got the Packers for is because I think they're probably one of the youngest teams in the NFL now.
You
and
said, you lost your leader.
Yeah, so.
And 3, you got the Lions. 2, you got Chicago. And 1, you got the Vikings. And yours is just one different.
Yeah. We flopped Chicago and Detroit, which is understandable. I just don't see a team jumping from, I only see Detroit getting better, and I see Chicago getting better, but I don't see them getting better than Detroit.
Yeah,
and that's my argument.
This is I don't want to say this is a wild card division, but it's a lot of these divisions.
It's not a wild card division.
No,
the winner of this division makes it in this year.
The wild card division will probably be the NFC West.
Yeah.
So
let's jump into the NFC South.
I'll let you start.
I'll kick it off real quick. So, fourth place, the Bucks. Reason you lose Tom Brady, everything just changes for you guys. And they struggled getting people. They have no Leonard Fournette. They have no Tom Brady. They've got Mike Evans, who's probably the best guy on their team offensively.
Most
and
underrated
then defensively, I think they're still going to be a good defense. They're going to be healthy. So that's probably the only perk to this team. But if you have Baker throwing the ball?
Kyle Trask.
Baker and Kyle Trask are struggling in OTAs throwing to open tight ends. Not just open receivers, open tight ends.
Yeah, I mean that's scary.
That's very telling. So that's why I got them at 4. Atlanta 3. Quarterback situation. Desmond Ridder didn't look the greatest, and I think he threw 1 touchdown in 5 games. So that's a big factor for me. And now, granted, Kyle Pitts coming back healthy. Drake London, I think, had a little bit of an injury towards the end of the season. And then you go out and you get Bijan Robinson, and I still think you use Tyler Algier in the slot some.
Yep.
So 100%. I think this team is going to produce offensively. They struggle on the defensive side of the ball, and they didn't fix it. Now, they did go pay the most for a corner in the NFL.
That's not
for safety.
But that's one position.
Yeah, and I still think they're going to struggle in that secondary a little bit.
I agree.
And then Carolina, I've got at 2, and only reason I have them at 2 is because apparently to them, Bryce Young is the best thing, best thing since sliced bread.
The second coming of Jesus.
I don't see it, but if they can find a way to utilize his feet and put him in a West Coast offense and get the ball out of his hands quick, the defense was already good last year. And this division is such a shitty division that a team with 9 wins can make the playoffs.
Yes.
But I don't see that happening because I have the Saints at 1, And I see the Saints going from, I think they were the third place team last year
to the first
place
which
team.
I love.
And that is because Derek Carr is consistent. Michael Thomas should be back. And actually, no, I don't think Michael Thomas is back.
Yeah, he is. He's on a 1-year deal.
I think he just had an injury. Like, no joke. Look that up while I'm talking about this. I'm dead serious. I think he might have had an injury. So, but even you have Olave coming back off injury. I could see Juice going back there for a year, Landry, because he's still unsigned. And then they still have Juwan Johnson, who was underrated as a tight end. And then they went out and grabbed Foster Moreau out of the Raiders. So he has a tight end that he already has some type of chemistry with. So if Michael Thomas is back, that is huge. And it's going to be a short gameplay.
They said he's trying to come back from his toe injury last year.
Okay, so there's no updated injury?
He's still not 100%.
Okay.
I'm saying.
So, but if Michael Thomas does come back, that team goes from a very West Coast setup offense with one guy that can streak the field, and that's Olave. And he proved that he was capable with Andy Dalton last year. And I think Derek Carr is better than Andy Dalton. So to go from Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, or Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston to Derek Carr, to me, is a huge upgrade. Yeah. The defense is the same. The defense really didn't change. And actually, you have them coming back healthy because you still have the corner there that was injured like 6 games last year.
Lattimore.
He was injured like 6 games last year. So,
and we'll talk. So my biggest concern with them real quick is just the Alvin Kamara. We don't know the suspension that's going to happen with that. If there's going to be one. But we're doing this.
But the Jamal Williams thing is a huge step up because, and I think that team is capable of utilizing a running back correctly that you don't. And Derek Carr, prior to Josh Jacobs, I mean, I don't remember the running back before, in between Josh Jacobs and Darren McFadden.
Marshawn Lynch?
No.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
On the Raiders.
Oh.
I don't remember the running back. So, like, I know
Marshawn Lynch played, but there hasn't been a
maybe he was there for a year.
He was there for 2.
He was there for 2. So that was probably that's probably who it was. Yeah, and he was a shadow of himself. He was not the same Marshawn.
I know
Lynch.
Lat Murray was there a little bit. But I think, I don't know if that was before or after McFadden.
Not sure. It's definitely after McFadden.
So,
but yeah, so like that. So he's capable of playing with a minimal running back core in my mind.
Well, yeah.
So
he has the.
And that defense is just so good. That defense is the one thing that almost took them to the playoffs. So
defense wins you Super Bowls.
They win you champions. Offense gets you through the regular season. Defense wins you champions. That's what I say all the time.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, give me what you got, Wheels.
Pretty much, I just have it flipped a little bit. So mine is the Buccaneers. I have them fourth.
All the same reasons.
Baker Mayfield, Kyle Trask. It's very worrisome coming in this year.
These OTAs don't look good.
No, you do not have a for sure quarterback one, and honestly, neither of these guys are a QB1. These are backups. But so for that reason, I mean, it's sad given the talent that's on that team still. You got Chris Godwin, you got Cade Otton, you got Mike Evans. I mean, and you got Rashad White. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team, but that doesn't overshadow the quarterback situation you currently are playing with, and it's not a good situation. So for that reason, they're fourth. 3, I don't believe the Bryce Young hype. I don't. Until you give me a reason to believe it, in my opinion, I'm just going to deny it because from everything I saw, I don't think he has it. He's very short. My biggest fear is balls batted down behind at the line. That's going to be huge this year. I mean, size is a big thing.
Well, that's why I made the argument of a West Coast offense get the ball out of his hand quickly.
And
if you're capable of doing that, I think that eliminates what you just said.
But the thing is you've traded away a lot of your future for him. You traded away DJ Moore, a very young number 1 wide receiver in my opinion.
Yeah, but who's their wide receiver core?
What is it? Adam Thielen's there, I think, or is he in Houston?
You got Adam Thielen.
You got Adam Thielen.
You have
who'd they draft?
Well, you still have the fence guy.
Oh yeah, the fence guy.
Terrace
Marshall Jr.
That's Terrace. Sorry.
Terrace, the fence guy. You still have the fence guy on that team. You have
and then there's
Damian
one other.
Bird, DJ Shark.
DJ Shark. They signed DJ Shark to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, and Laviska Shenault, another Jaguar.
I actually like that team. I think that all those receivers are very underrated.
They are. I mean, it's a very underrated core, but I don't think the quarterback has what it takes. It's the same situation, in my opinion, with the Buccaneers. I think that's going to be the biggest issue. And don't they have a new head coach?
No.
Oh, no, it's Matt Rule's. No, Matt Rule got fired.
He got fired way early on. This is the same head coach this is the same head coach last year. Matt Rule got fired the year before that.
Was it?
Or it was like game 4.
Oh,
when
yeah.
Baker
it was
there.
mid-season, yeah, because Baker was released and he went to the Rams. Yeah, you're right. My bad. And then that brings us to Atlanta, which I'm hoping, that they can take a big step. I'm hoping.
That's how he does his power rankings. Based on hope.
I like Desmond Ridder a lot. I think he's going to take a very big step forward with, Drake London fully healthy. You got Kyle Pitts coming back. You have Bijan Robinson. And again, we got Tyler Algier, who's not bad. And you still have Cordero Patterson, who will play at wide receiver. I mean, you got a lot of talent on this team, and a lot of it's young. But my biggest worry, like you said, is the
Cordero's like 40.
Other than that, I mean, everybody else you look at.
I'm just kidding.
Pitts is young.
He's like
Drake London's
29
young.
or 30.
Tyler Allgeier's young. Bijan's young. Your quarterback's young.
Desmond Ridder looks like a 12-year-old.
He does. But, I mean, how many wins do you think they have? 9? 8? This is a hard division.
I believe that Atlanta is capable of having 8 or 9 wins, but I think this division as a whole got significantly better than last year.
It did.
And the highest record last year was 8-9.
So that brings us to the Saints.
I think they could easily have 9 wins because they almost tied with the Bucs at the end of last season.
I mean, obviously with the Saints, you got, like you said, you got Derek Carr. Experienced, he's proven it. He has what it takes. You got Chris Olave and Michael Thomas, hopefully full healthy season. The Alvin Kamara is still a little worrisome there, but again, you got Jamal.
I don't
Williams.
think it's worrisome because the NFL has been hush about it, and this happened over a year ago, and nobody said anything. And this is the kind of bullshit that you get. And I mean, this is from
Oh, I'm not trying
like
to
if this shit would have happened in Cleveland, Nick Chubb would have been suspended for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I think it's to save face maybe for New Orleans, but I mean, you added.
How can you save face in the dirtiest city in the country?
I mean, the armpit of America.
It's bad.
Or I should say the crotch.
I was to say you walk around, it smells like urine everywhere.
I've never been to New Orleans, and I probably will never go.
It's not worth it.
No. So,
if you want to get drunk, just go to Vegas or Atlantic City.
I mean, I like the Saints. I have them at 11, 12 wins, personally. I think they win that division handedly. I think the only team they split with in this division is maybe Atlanta. And that's a big maybe.
I can see them splitting with the Carolina Panthers just defensively. But I agree with you that they can probably run away with this division.
The
worst case scenario, 4-2, 5-1. A worst case scenario.
That's where I try to base a lot of this off of is, how can they play division? Because those are the games that matter. You play each other.
It's not. They don't matter.
You play 6 games in division.
You play 6 games in division, but you play another, 11 games outside of your division. Yeah. So, do you think division doesn't matter anymore.
When do you think they'll increase that to 3 per team? Because that's 9.
When they get rid of preseason.
But my thing is, why didn't they already add that? And then you go 9-8.
I don't think that.
Or what?
I think that changing.
And sorry to say
in division. I think that changing in division. That's rough. That's a hard situation because I think changing the in-division side, the schedule becomes a bigger issue by making it 9 games. No, it could work. That would work because then you play one out of conference and one in conference division. Mm-hmm. It could work. Right now they play 2 in conference divisions.
Yep.
And 1 out of conference, and then they play like 1 extra team.
It stirs up more rivalry, in my opinion.
I don't know. That would be different.
Could you imagine a lot of these teams playing each other 3 times a year? So to cut it real quick, I got
You know what?
the
No,
Bucks.
that's why you can't do it. Because our cities can't handle that shit. Like there's no way. There's no way our cities can handle like a Pittsburgh Browns rivalry or a Ravens Cincy rivalry right now. Like there's just no way. Didn't we see guys get thrown over guardrails last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, and that might have been the Saints game.
It could have been.
I think it was the Saints game. I don't think that was an in-division game.
No.
Like
it gets rowdy.
I remember watching because we watched that video on air. Like we watched that dude thrown over the stairs and he fell on the stairs. I was like, oh, not good. No in-division games. Like two's enough. Two's enough per team. I'm good. I'm good with that. I also think that in that situation, right? Because if you play in division, then you have wild card. You could end up playing your in-division game in the wild card, and now you're playing a team 4 times out of a year instead of 3. 3 is already kind of a max at this point. Yeah. So I think 4 is way too many times to see one team. Yeah. Way too many times. And that could be repetitive and redundant. And I don't know if you want to do that.
I mean, it's hard, but, you know, it's whatever going to bring the NFL more money. So just to cut it real quick, obviously I got the Buccaneers 4. I got the Carolina Panthers 3, Atlanta 2, and Saints 1. So did you already do yours?
Yeah. Yep. I started off with mine. So I have Bucks 4, Falcons 3, Carolina 2, Saints 1. So
and that brings us to our last segment, which is who'd you rather?
Oh yeah, that's right. Wheels is a segment for today, and the question he's going to talk about a couple players, and he's asked me who I'd rather have on my team.
Yes, on your team. So
am I building the team around these players, or is this just okay? I'm building the team around this player, offensive or defensive?
Offensive. So all these players are retired. I will not talk about in this segment. Any of these segments I do, there will not be any current players. It'll all be retired. So you got Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, and Andre Johnson. It's tough, isn't it?
No, Andre's out for me.
Andre's a wild card.
Andre's out for me.
If you look at his stat,
when you look at Steve Smith Sr. and Hines Ward, I would have to take Hines Ward. I think Hines Ward was clutch, and Hines Ward was very, very willing to be a blocking wide receiver.
He was 6 foot. I mean, Steve Smith was.
The dude was a bowling. I think Steve Smith was 5'11".
Yeah.
I don't think he was much different, but the Hines Ward was a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Bowling ball,
it's close. It's close for me. What I would have to go.
Is there so why would you pick those guys? Like what was your thought process?
So they all played around the same type of offense, in my opinion. And era.
They were all slot receivers.
Well, other than
I don't think Andre was a slot receiver.
Other than Andre was an X, so he's outside.
Okay,
but stat wise, they're very similar. So Steve Smith's stats are 219 games. 1,031 receptions, 14,731 receiving yards, and 81 touchdowns, averaging 14.3 yards per reception. Then you go to Hines, 217 games, 1,000 receptions, 1,200 yards, 12.1 yards per reception, 85 touchdowns. Then you go to Andre, 1,062 receptions, 1,400 or 14.
How many games?
193 games, 1,062 receptions, 14,000 yards, 13.4 yards per reception, 70 touchdowns. So his touchdowns.
Yeah, so Andre's out for me because Andre played the least amount of games. He kind of had the least amount of yardage. I think he was a little over on yardage.
He was a 3rd-round pick in 2003. Hines was a.
So it's funny. It's funny statistically. Hines Ward was the better receiver.
Do you know where Hines was
outside
drafted?
Of yardage? 6.
No.
Where?
I was drafted 3rd round, 92nd overall.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then Steve was drafted 127th overall.
You know what, Johnny?
Oh, no, sorry. 74th
Johnny, can you type one more thing for me so I can see what you said?
Overall.
He did these 3 because they all...
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right.
Were on the Hall of Fame this year. Were they all in the Hall of Fame this year? Were they all Hall of Fame class? Oh, that's yeah. Okay, so obviously I did not know that.
Maybe
that makes sense. That makes sense.
That is partial reason, but they're all very close. That's why like I said, they're all right around the same time.
Johnny, who would you take? Because I obviously took Hines Ward because obviously you guys call me a Steelers fan all the time.
I
just think Hines Ward is very underrated.
I take Steve.
outside of Steelers fans. Like Steelers fans loved Hines.
I know Gesick said he would take Hines as well because I talked to him a day about it just to see what he felt if it was a good comp. And
I like if Hines Ward and Steve Smith Sr. I kind of like that comp. Like that would have been a good guess, that player for retired guys. Like that's fun. And we need to get back into that segment, so I'll apologize to you guys out there. That is such a hard segment to do, the amount of stat surfing I have to do and the comparisons. Just right now you have over 1,000 players in the NFL, so trying to find two comparable players that are currently playing, trying to find out of the 50,000 players that have played all time, it's really hard.
I was trying to find a comp with Larry who played around the same time, and it's very, very hard because, like I said...
It's because Larry played 18 years.
Yeah. The only other comparable guy maybe is T.O.
T.O. is as close.
Yeah,
and T.O.'s never played on a team more than 2 years in a row.
He's bounced around.
And Larry's played on the same team his entire career.
Yes, he did. I loved it.
All right, that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys watched it, I appreciate you guys being out there and enjoying the show. It's a little bit quieter today. I got 0 sleep last night. Not anybody's fault but my own. So I appreciate you guys actually being here and showing up for us. And if you can, please like, subscribe. The YouTube is on wheels, and the Facebook is on wheels. Let's go. Camera. So, like, if you guys can follow us on Facebook, like Wheels said, I don't have the Twitter in the description, or not the Twitter, the Discord in the description, but I will try to get it out there on the next episode or so. So, if you guys can, please follow us, like, subscribe, and chat, because I want to hear what you guys want to know or want to talk about, or maybe some debate topics. I love debating, like the D-Hop thing, going and getting an old receiver just for shits and giggles in my mind, because there's no guarantee you win the Super Bowl just because you pay a guy $18 million and he's the X factor of your team. I just don't see it. No. So, and I don't think you ruin a franchise over that. Right now, they're in the process of building a franchise. And the one thing they need is a young receiver that's going to step up, like a JJ, or like Amari in his prime, or like Cortland Sutton, or like a Scary Terry. Like, we need that guy, and we just can't find that guy in Cleveland. No. We had that guy in Josh Gordon, but couldn't stay off the Chiba. So Johnny, you'll take Hines, including locker room leadership. Steve Smith Sr. isn't a leader. Johnson was fighting too much. I like Andre's. Okay, I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying there. So, so that's it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to let Wheels take it away from here, and then we'll head on out.
Next Wednesday, we will be talking about NFC East and NFC West. That'll finish our power rankings, obviously, for the NFL. We did the AFC the last 2 weeks. You can go back and view those. We love you guys, getting in and just discussing with us. Get in chat, get on the Facebook page, obviously Discord. He talked about it. We want your feedback. We are here for you. So please tune in next Wednesday. And, we might have D-Hop news. Or it may break during the show. We'll see.
All right. I mean, I think we're hoping to have D-Hop news, and
I'm hoping we do. I'm kind of tired.
I don't know if I can talk about D-Hop much longer.
It's like the Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how much.
But if you guys have some debate topics, that's what the Discord's there for. We have we want people out there in the general and talking about topics that you want to know about, or even players you want to know about, or maybe if you're looking to trade in dynasties or fantasies and you have questions or concerns, or you want guys' insights. That's kind of what the Discord's there. I have multiple chat rooms in the Discord. I also have a gambling, like people's gambling out there. You can screenshot your bets and see how you're doing. And it's mostly football focused, or NCAA. But if you guys are gambling, you want me to put like a basketball gambling or something, I could throw that out there on Discord. It's easy to manage. So that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Wednesday around the same time.
Later.
Peace out.